Okay, so I'm doing about 60 grams of coffee here. And I'm going to do 600 grams of water. My grinder only holds about 20 grams, so this is the third one. I am microwaving and bringing to a boil about 3 cups of water. This is based on a few methods I've seen online. Kind of an amalgamation of them using the equipment that we actually have. Okay, that's actually 69 grams. Water ought to be done any minute. Not quite yet. We use weights, well, there's various reasons, but when I started making iced coffee by this method, it became obvious that weight was the best way to handle it, because how are you going to measure ice by volume? But you can, of course, measure it by weight. So it's about 60 grams of coffee, and go ahead and grind it kind of coarse. You want it to be really smooth, but you will have to play around with the grind as with any other method. Alright, water's boiling. So probably just off a boil is good enough, but I still tend to bring it down to 195. You just stir it to introduce some air bubbles, which will bring down the temperature until you're where you want to be. Of the various stirring implements one might use, I like chopsticks because you can hold them close together and it's a single object, or you can have them further apart, and you'll see that when I start pouring the water in the grounds. Alright, clear the scale, zero it out, and slowly add the water and make sure all the grounds are saturated. Once all the grounds are saturated, start the timer. I'm doing 4 minutes, the usual time for press pots. And again, we're going to 600 grams here. And that's 601. Just cause, we'll go ahead and do the break and scoop method. Now, our vessel, our decanter. Now this is just a decanter that they sell at Walmart. There's nothing special about it. We didn't even know if it would hold hot liquids, but it does. So we want 300 grams of ice. There's 306. Since I'm going to do the break and scoop method for French press, I'll go ahead and make it 3.5 minutes rather than 4. The break and scoop method equals smoother coffee, which of course is good. And so we have 2 minutes to go on the coffee. Obviously the idea here is that we are making a coffee concentrate. Well, I don't know about concentrate, but it's really strong coffee. Ordinarily in this pot we would use about 80 grams of coffee, but we'd also fill it up all the way. So we're making it stronger. It's going to be a total of, 800 to 900 grams of coffee. But we're dividing that up, 1/3 of it being ice and 2/3 of it being the strong brewed coffee. But the theory here is that once I pour it over the coffee, or pour it over the ice, it will melt the ice, and if you time it just right, when you finish pouring the coffee in, pretty much all your ice is melted and you have a cold beverage. Definitely not ice cold, but cold. Still a good idea to pour it over ice. If you got a lot of ice left over, well, I haven't had that happen yet. Maybe that would mean pouring too slow, because the opposite is definitely true, that if your ice all melts before you're even done pouring, you are pouring too fast. And I don't know how all the science applies to that. I just know what my experience has been. About 30 seconds to go with the coffee. There are, of course, cold brew methods out there, and that's what we did last summer. This summer has been these experiments. Alright, now we break the surface to get the foam all nice. And then we scoop the grounds out. It's going to be, you know, the majority of the grounds that we're scooping out. I don't have, normally they recommend using cupping spoons. I don't own cupping spoons, but I find a julep strainer that I keep on the bar anyway works great for it. Okay. Yes, I know. Now we'll go ahead and press in the usual way. And we're still showing 306 of ice in there. So we will begin pouring the coffee. And again, you definitely don't want to do this too fast. I don't, as I said, I don't know the science involved, but I definitely notice when I pour it too fast, the ice melts just that much faster. And of course, as I've said for a long time, the larger the ice cubes, the better. You want the most surface area to be hitting at once. It will have the less meltage, although in this case meltage is a good thing, we just don't want it too fast. Now, depending on what you can see on the video, it looks like my ice is still kind of big in there, but that's okay. And yeah, with the, I forgot that I've been finding out that with the break and scoop method, you lose pretty good amount of liquid. Normally when I get done here, we're at like between 820, 830, something like that. And right now I'm at 782. So a lot of liquid just got dumped out into that knock box. I'm going to stir it. For one, it's mixing the rest of it's melting the rest of the ice, but it's also mixing the rest of the ice in with the warmer parts of the coffee. Get it as cold as possible, and get as much ice melted as possible. There's some little particles right there.